I'll never forget this. It blew my mind. And I said, excuse me? And he goes, why'd you just work so hard out there? I want to get back to something that you said. You were saying that like the vets looked at us as like the blood and guts company and too much and blah, blah, blah. I remember we did a house show one night and it was like a mixed tag we did, right? And we were doing all these like cool spots and this and that. And I mean, we probably had like maybe 500 to 1,000 people in the building. It was a house show. Terry Taylor was there just visiting. And we come through the curtain and he stops us and he looks at all of us and he says, why'd you work so hard? I'll never forget this. It blew my mind. And I said, excuse me? And he goes, why'd you just work so hard out there? It's a house show. I couldn't wrap my head around that reasoning. And I said point blank, I said, well, you know, I said, if we drew 500 tonight, maybe they'll tell a friend. And maybe next time we come, we'll have 1,000 people because we work hard. That's what we do here. And he goes, when we do the loop, we just do the same match in every city and it's easy. And we save our energy for TV. See, now you're laughing. I wasn't a vet at this time. I'm still kind of green. So I didn't want to argue with the guy, but I'm thinking that kind of mentality is shit. Why would you think that way?
We did something. I didn't learn about that in terms of doing stuff like that until I got to WWE.
Right.
Because a lot of the vets from the 80s were still there. Late 80s, that is. And, you know, a lot of them had the same mentality because it was the old school way of thinking. So the new school way of thinking, like you were describing how you felt about it, hadn't really registered yet. It was just that, you know, let's get through this match and get to the next town and hope, you know, get to TV with no injuries. And that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
But as a couple, you know, some time went on, you know, some of the vets, you know, we would do somewhat similar to the same match, but we would change a little bit up.
Right.
You know, to make it a little bit different because you never know who drove, you know, 400 miles to the next town. And, you know, you don't want them predicting what we had already done in the town the night before. So, you know, it was always, we changed it up a little bit, not too much, just a little bit.
But that's fine. Because we would do like the same thing. We'd change some spots here and there. But to say, why did you work so hard? To me, that's the first thing that came out of his mouth when we came in the back. Why'd you work so hard out there? And I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't we work hard? Like they bought a ticket just like you would buy a ticket if it was a pay-per-view or a TV taping.
I don't know if Terry Taylor would actually agree with that method now, being that he is one of the producers at NXT. And I say that because, you know, you got to teach these kids they have to work hard for what they do, not just to get the TV. So I'm sure Terry Taylor is being a producer on the live events and this and that. I don't think he has that same mentality anymore, even though he's not wrestling. Yeah. But again, I understand what he meant by that because that was the way they did things back then. Didn't necessarily make it right.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, necessarily make it wrong, but didn't necessarily make it right either. But that was just the way they were able to save their bodies. You know, because remember back then being on the road for 50 days straight or 40 to 50 days straight was normal.
Yes.
So they were home maybe 3 to 4 days, maybe a week if they were lucky.
Right.
So, you know, they were constantly traveling in and out of cars, some airplanes and things like that. So they were really trying to conserve their body and not really. But I definitely understand both ways. I understand Terry's logic and thinking of it. And I definitely understand your way of logic and thinking of it.
Because that's what we did 55 years ago when we were just starting out.
60.
According to D-Von, we've been here for 187 years. Hey there, it is the Queen of Extreme, Francine from ECW. Do you want to see more of me? Click over here to watch another video. Or click over here to listen to my podcast. And as always, thank you for your support.